Hi,
Hello.
Caroline and Sergio, good morning. How are you?
Happy New
Good morning.
Year.
How
Where
are
are
Happy
you?
New
you?
Year. It's great to see you both. And thank you for agreeing to do this. I'm super excited for the opportunity to speak with you guys. When I saw you in New York last month, you did a great job on stage as always. And I was so excited that I got to take a picture with you guys that I had a major fangirl moment and didn't even
Welcome.
introduce myself. But anyway, it's so great to meet you guys. So, Carolyn, I've been a fan of yours since Ladies of London, which I think started, what, a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to
It,
be born, bro, Ali. So
it was
yeah. So I've been following you since then and, have really loved getting to know more about you since you sort of met JT and have done some business with him and joined the founders. And after you joined the founders, I started listening to your Divorced Not Dead podcast, which I completely resonate with because I'm also divorced and not dead. So anyway,
great.
thanks for just enhancing my life with some of your wisdom as a woman. And Sergio, of course, I don't want to leave you out. I love
it's okay. You can take her.
but I've listened to some of your recent podcasts with the two of you, and you have such great energy. The way that you banter and go back and forth together, it's educational and entertaining. And I love watching the evolution of your relationship. So, with that,
Oh,
I don't want to spend, all of our time talking about all of the things that people probably ask you about most, right? Which is your relationship and the age gap and all of those things. I will say kudos and more power to you because I love the fact that you are breaking norms, right? Although, Carolyn, I remember you sharing your story on stage. You're like, if I had known how old he really was in the beginning. So, Sergio, more
No,
power to you for being strategic in how you approached her.
you had to. You had to. If not,
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys some questions because, in addition to obviously being reality television stars and being a household name, you also, Caroline and Sergio, both have had very successful business careers and changes throughout that process. And so one of the things that I help my clients with, I do leadership consulting, executive coaching, and I help people also focus on building resilient teams and becoming more personally resilient. And I think both of you are really great examples of how to pivot and change in order to remain relevant and also successful in your businesses. So, can you talk to me about sort of that journey over the last decade or so in terms of what you guys have gone through, considering all of the changes that have occurred? What are some personal strategies that you have used to navigate all of those changes to remain relevant and successful in your businesses?
well, I'll go first.
Mhm.
I think, look, I would love to say it was strategic. It isn't because, when you're in it, I think you go quite fast and things roll. I think fairly when it's a personal brand, you can see very, very quickly which things are working for you and which things aren't. I think when I had an office and many people, maybe things don't filter as quickly down to you. I am better at trying to build a resilient team and around us than he is because he absolutely wants to keep it just us, which I do agree with. Like I felt like my last company became too big, but as you will know that to build a successful company, you need to have a team and a team of very successful people around you. um to remain relevant, well, I think, I've done many things. You can see now, like when I was in Ladies of London, I mean, it was funny. I still did a lot of funny with the posting because funny always sold. But I think the couples thing right now and the age gap is what hooked people to us. And with the world being as it is today, I think funny really has captured the hearts. And as you just said, the banter between us, which is ridiculous, is what people enjoy. So that is something. Maybe before I thought that business, you know, you have to be this power bitch and you have to be this, you know, almost, as everyone said, watching me on like Ladies of London, I was the ice queen with a heart. Whereas now I think I have a lot more fun all over, and you can see a softer side of me, but I'm still making the same money and doing the same thing. I'm just doing it in a completely different way, which is like, you know, and maybe I wouldn't have thought of before. So
it's a big learning process, I think. You know, we have to adjust kind of, and you know, me personally, it was not strategized or anything. I didn't know, you know, how to kind of
I work with him. I would never have done that before either, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's front and center with me. There you go. You know, we change all the time.
we change everything, to be honest. And now, for example, as you know, she was saying, it's more, we focus on creating more relatable content where people can feel more related, and we can get closer to them, I would say, which I think that was not the case before, you know. So it's just a big learning kind of process for both of us, and you know, there is not a magic recipe for anything. It's just you know, the times change, and we just try to adjust, you know, how the ball rolls, you know?
And not to get, you know, I think a lot of people feel if the one door closes that they get sort of what do you say,
Frustrated and tired.
frustrated, but bogged down with that didn't work for me, and they can't get back up from it. And I think, you know, that
try to switch, and there's always
we're
a
just
way,
like, oh well, that
you know,
door closed, another one
yeah,
opens, and
it's
it
not meant
always
for you,
does.
you know. That's why we are very big into
Mindset is everything.
like
100%.
manifestation, you know,
Having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And you know what you just said, okay, that didn't work. What are we going to try next? And really taking that opportunity to launch yourself into something new versus getting stuck. And you know,
So
we've
many
heard
times-
lots of successful people say, you know, failure is part of it, right? I failed 100 times or 50 times before I hit that level of success that I was trying to achieve. And that's really the secret, if you will, is not getting stuck in that
taking
failure.
ego out of it,
Yeah.
losing your ego. And I think so many people get so bogged down. I can hear people snigger when things go wrong, or I've tried something that doesn't seem like good to them, or something, you know, it feels ridiculous to them, but I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like one of them will hit.
And then, you know, a lot of people ask us if we would have changed anything that happened to us in the past. And, you know, we always say no, because that leads us to where we are today. So everything that happened to us that we pushed for and it never happened is just the result of where we are today. So, you know, just any door opportunity that closes, there's always going to be a bigger one and a better one, maybe in a longer time, but it will come back.
I love that. So something that you mentioned a moment ago, Caroline, about people snickering. So I have watched your podcast, you know, since we saw each other in November to currently, and you had a facelift and you look absolutely gorgeous, by the way. And I loved hearing you sort of address what some people's maybe criticisms might have been. Well, you're already gorgeous. Why are you doing that? And you said, well, you know, I'm doing it now, so it's not such a big change, and because it makes me feel good. And I love the fact that you're, number one, relatable. You don't hold anything back. You just say it like it is, but you're also non-apologetic for doing something that you wanted to do for you, which I think is a great example for all people, but particularly women, in terms of being non-apologetic. So talk to me a little bit, not necessarily about the facelift itself, but if you want to make any comments there, but just about that sort of mindset and attitude of, look, I'm going to make the best decision for me, regardless of what other people think.
I actually did a podcast called Selfish is the New Black. And, you know, people want me to say that he made me do it. And there she is trying to keep up with her young husband.
It was the other way around, actually.
He begged me not to, begged me.
We had a big fight about it.
You know, and I lied to him. I was like, oh, I'm just popping in to get this thing done. That's like, I completely diminished what was going to happen to me and sent him out for a smoothie. You know, and by the time he came back,
I thought it was
I was
something
like
small
vegetable.
and literally, you know.
But you know, again, that's how I am too, because I didn't even ask the doctor. It wasn't until a week later that I called him and said, did I have a full facelift or a half one? And he goes, full, deep pain, whatever. I hadn't even asked, because the thing is, too much information may have put me off, and I wanted to do it. I've been doing this for years, just holding myself back, and how it would look for me. And I wanted to get on. Like, I don't need to be 70 and looking fabulous. Like, who cares? Like, now I want to look fabulous.
And actually,
And
from my perspective, I would say I understood that this not about others, it's about how she feels.
yeah,
Mhm.
And that's why I, I was okay with it at the end, because she's so much happier. And
I don't
that's the
need
most
makeup.
important,
My skin's amazing. Like, I mean, this is like a baby's bum. It's
And
brilliant.
that's
I've
all
got
she
no
wanted.
filler. I've got no, and like, all I need is like 2 dots of Botox, he said, for the next 15, 20 years. That's it. Like, what a
Fabulous.
dream. I was like living under this, like, regime of
Yeah.
God knows what I had to do, and the money I'm spending that versus what I, need now. And I think, it's like everything. When I had a miscarriage, no one talked about it. When I had, this, no one talks about it, but like everyone wants to do it. And then when you have a miscarriage, everyone's had one actually, and they just don't know how to, speak about it. Most people have one, unfortunately, after the first. But if we normalized it and said, look, you're not the only person, it's very common, people wouldn't have this terrible shame feeling attached to it.
Yeah.
Same. I know it's not quite the same, but these are all things women go through.
Well, you're
Very
removing the stigma by talking about it. And when you talk
Yeah.
about it and you're honest and, transparent about it, it gives other people permission to do the same, right?
You think you're the
I love
only
that.
one. And so many women write to me over the facelift, and they're like, oh my God, because in a way everyone was waiting for me to come out butchered and go, there you are. And what I've learned, and I think if I pass on any advice to women when you go for it, I think what kept me looking exactly as I was, but young and fresh, is I did not lift the eyes. I think lifting the eyes, you can begin to look a bit weird. I left everything down and just did that, and just took off the eyelids, which actually took years off.
Honestly, she looks the best I've seen her.
Yeah.
And
But
she's
it's so subtle. Like, it really is subtle. You look like the same person. You just look refreshed and you look fabulous.
You
So,
saw me on the stage. And
Yeah.
actually, that was with a lot of makeup, and I was very good. It wasn't like I looked awful before, but I was very good at covering it.
hiding it. Yeah.
And now I don't need to hide it. I don't need, I do this makeup now. I did New Year's makeup. I would never have done that. I needed my war paint to look, how I wanted to.
Well, you look fabulous. You both do. I love following your story, both personally and in business. Keep doing what you're doing and being vulnerable and sharing who you are. It's fantastic. And thank you both for taking the time to talk to me. Happy New Year. And I hope to see you again soon.
Happy New Year.
Thank you both so much.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. How many we have left?
4. Wait,
4. Okay.
That's great.
2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 5. And I just had Jessica join, so I'll add her.